when I grew up, there were professional African American doctors, lawyers, carpenters, you know, in the community. We didn't have to go outside our community for doctor services, dental services, and things like that.
Groceries too.
Grocery stores, black businesses. But with integration, in that light, in that aspect, we actually hurt our community. So as those professional examples moved out, black people, young black kids didn't see, oh, I want to be this when I grow up. I want to be that when I grow up, because that person lives across the street from me. They could only identify with it possibly with members in their school, or when they went out to other communities, or what they saw on TV. And we know that the images that we see on TV are really not reflective of us.
Businesses that only service a very small percentage of the population. If you want to own a bank and start a bank, they're not going to give you much money. When I say they, and I shouldn't say they in quotes, it's very difficult to get enough funding. I'll tell you, we were in business for ourselves.
Okay.
My ex and I.
Yeah.
And we had a 5 or 10 cent store.
Okay.
Which was an old Woolworths. It really, and you probably don't even know what Woolworths was. It's one of the early 5 and 10s. It predates the dollar store.
Woolworths?
Yeah.
I remember that store.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we bought one that was
Okay.
in a neighborhood that was declining,
Okay.
and we were gung-ho on businesses that we should start our own businesses.
Yeah.
So it was not a problem. It was a problem that the bank did not want to give us money, even though my ex had been in the retail business for years.
Yeah.
They still did not. He had to do all kinds of proof that he was able to run a store. So we
Yeah.
finally got the money
Okay.
because we finally found a banker who was empathetic. And there's always one or two, but it takes up all your time
Yeah.
to go and seek him out.
Okay.
So we opened up this business, and like people came to shop because we were the only thing in town that
Yeah.
wasn't a barbershop or a
Yeah.
but I tell you, we got maybe $100,000 to open the store, and of course, those stores cost a lot of money because you need a lot of inventory. Well, there was this kid that came along, a white kid, who wanted to open up a McDonald's. In hindsight, that's what we should have done. But they gave him $250,000 without batting an eye. He had absolutely no restaurant experience, nothing at all. But we had to go through all kinds of proof that we'd be able to run it, and he had to do nothing. You know, that's the kind of disservices and misservices that we always face.
All started with whites or just Europeans, reigning their dominance and pushing that ideology that this is what the world should be. The world should be white. The closer you are to them, the closer you are to perfect, because they made themselves perfect when they weren't. Because they, and they did that because they knew that we had something that they couldn't obtain. Like if you even with us being broken down mentally, physically, spiritually, for generations, you still have geniuses who rise above that. Imagine if we were educated during slavery, right? If you still have geniuses who rise above these circumstances and people who come out of this. Imagine if we never went through that. We would most certainly be at the top, and they had to do that out of fear because, the ultimate thing is the reality of the situation is that Caucasians fear extinction. And, one drop of black blood makes you black. So in order to avoid extinction, you must get rid of the black race. Other than that, we will populate and the world will be black as it originally was.
So, how did the slave master parents talk to the slave? They would not just tell them, go over there and sit down. They would say, go over there and sit down, lazy, shiftless, black, nappy-haired, big nose, big lips, all of that language to say sit down. So when somebody white or Asian or Hispanic or somebody else is talking to their children, they just say, go over there and sit down. We are the only race of people that will say something about your color. Sit your black so-and-so down. Sit your navigator so-and-so down. We're the only people that has that characteristic, because that is what the subjugated syndrome has left us. And without being repaired, without reparations, without anything to deal with 200